Welcome. This is the second lesson of the course Joint Venture Alliances and Partnership Promotions. We are in the first part about international business scenario, and we will discuss different patterns of expansion. The outline is, first of all, we have some considerations about internationalization, then the evolutionary process of international expansion, and we will present foreign market entry strategies. This is the first part of the lesson of patterns of expansion. In the second part, we will complete foreign market entry strategies. Considerations about internationalization. The internationalization is a process undertaken by the company in order to grow. So it's a kind of strategy. It doesn't regard the way the company compete in order to reach a competitive advantage, while internationalization is a strategy to grow, to become bigger, or to find new competitive opportunities in different geographic areas. It is usually a stepwise process involving strategic planning and risk minimization process. So at the base of a good internationalization process, there should be a good plan, a strategic plan to internationalize, and a careful analysis of different risks that the company has to face or is likely to face when it goes abroad. Usually, companies at the beginning of their internationalization process choose the markets and entry modes which appear more familiar and less risky. So it is very important, especially at the beginning, especially during the first phases of the internationalization process, to find ways to become international, but and at the same time controlling the risks, reducing the risks. This is clearly it's clearly the reasons that suggest this kind of behavior are quite obvious, I would say. This, for example, means that companies at the beginning of the internationalization process try to enter in foreign markets which are geographically or at least culturally close to their domestic markets. For example, an Italian company at the beginning of its internationalization process will prefer to enter in France or in Germany or in Spain. It will be less likely to enter, or less likely try to enter in China, for example, or in India or in Brazil, because these countries are very far. The company has a very little knowledge about their characteristics, and so the perceived risk, but I would say the concrete risk, is much higher. At the same time, companies have to pay attention to new opportunities, and especially for Western, for companies originated in Western countries, good opportunities, best opportunities can be found very far from the original countries because emerging markets are far from Europe or far from United States. And so it is very important nowadays for companies to control risk, but at the same time to be able to grasp good opportunities which can be found in emerging countries. During their internationalization process, companies develop commitment, knowledge, and relations. There is an important theoretical school which focuses exactly on these three aspects: commitment, knowledge, and relations, to describe and to understand the characteristics of the internationalization process, and also to evaluate the quality of a company's internationalization process. Commitment means the attention, the links that a company has toward the foreign environment, and so the links with foreign stakeholders. Knowledge regards the knowledge, the experience, the competencies to operate successfully in different geographic areas. And relations is also very important because they describe the relevance of the connections the company has established or is establishing with foreign partners. In foreign markets, companies are confronted with problems very different from those arising in domestic markets. And very different from those arising in domestic markets. And this explains why, as we said before, why at the beginning companies try to enter in very close markets, in markets which are similar to the domestic market, because the probability to have to face with different situations, of course, is lower. These problems can regard socio-political and cultural factors. Even if from one side we have observed during these last 2 decades the development of what we call the global consumers, so the consumer, kind of consumer who has similar characteristics and styles and behaviors in different geographic markets. At the same time, differences between countries, cultural differences, socio-political differences remains very relevant and affect the consumer's behavior. Also, differences regard local rules and laws and also uses, economic uses. Also, we have to consider geographically and natural conditions, which can be very different and, for example, requires a relevant differentiation of the product's characteristics, and also differences in infrastructure and manpower. The evolutionary process of international expansion. So it's very important to focus this concept. Internationalization is a process. Which takes a certain period of time, and which has different characteristics in different phases. We can consider an international life cycle. The evolutionary process of international expansion can be depicted considering different variables. The first variable, of course, is the number of countries where the company, number of foreign countries where the company operates. Of course, a company can become international by operating only in one country or after a certain period of time it is present in many different countries. Second variable which is important is the degree of similarity. How different are foreign countries from domestic country. And also it's important to consider internal versus external handling. So how, the company can go abroad through an internal organization or it can be supported by external actors, economic actors, external partners, basically. The speed at which a company moves is not necessarily the same along each variable. So the company can, for example, enter in many different geographic markets very quickly, but at the same time maintain a very high degree of similarity, so doesn't go very far from the domestic market. And also it depends on the motivation of internationalization. There might be different reasons to become international, different conditions that make the company go abroad. Of course, it depends on the available resources. It's quite obvious that the company can develop a very geographically widespread presence only if it has a lot of financial resources in order to make all the investment in different countries. And also we have to consider external constraints or external opportunities. As I said, in these years, it's clear that there are a lot of opportunities in emerging markets, and this is a very important point which affects the kind of internationalization process of the companies. There are some indexes to measure the degree of internationalization of a certain company. They're quite simple indexes which give a clear idea of how internationalized a company is. First, one of these indexes is foreign sales to total sales, the ratio between foreign sales and total sales. The ratio between foreign value added and total value added, foreign investment and total investment, foreign human resources and total human resources. Of course, the higher is the index, the more internationalized the company is. We can find companies that have, for example, a high value for foreign sales to total sales, so relevant part of the total sales are realized abroad, but at the same time a low value of the last index, the ratio between foreign human resources and total human resources. And of course, this can be explained considering the specific way the company goes abroad. In the example, it's clear that the company basically sells abroad, so exports, and so they realize a lot of sales abroad, but don't use a lot of people abroad. Some companies don't follow the traditional approach of becoming internationalized by incremental stages. And these kind of companies are called born global companies, born global. We said, okay, we have a process of internationalization, we have different phases in this process. In the early phases, companies usually try to reduce risks, so they tend to prefer entering in close geographic markets and to sell abroad, not to invest or reduce foreign investments. And during time, developing their internationalization life cycle, they companies increase their internationalization presence, increasing investments, and so on. And developing the internationalization process, the commitment, the relations, and the knowledge develop a lot. At the same time, the empirical experience, especially since 90s, more or less 90s of last century in Europe, but also in the United States, showed a completely different models, a completely different process of internationalization. The process of the born global companies that become internationalized, very much internationalized, since the beginning. So after, when they are very young and still small companies, they immediately become very much internationalized, and not rarely they immediately reach a global presence. They organize the value chain at international level. They manage to be present in many different geographic markets in far countries, and so on. So they have the ability to address their products and services to the global markets almost from their birth, winning the liability of smallness and the liability of newness, so the disadvantage that are consequences of the fact that they are the newcomers and they're usually relatively small. And it's interesting to understand reasons that can explain this kind of phenomenon, this kind of model, also considering that many born global firms are small and medium-sized companies. One of the reasons is the characteristics of the industry where these kind of companies compete, and so the forces of the markets in these industries. It's interesting to consider that we can find a lot of born global firms in industries like in high-tech industries or in luxury business. And it's clear that high-tech and luxury are global business, where it is very important to have a global organization in order to grasp competitive advantages in different areas, to be organized through a network, and to develop global brands. So this explains why companies that want to be competitive, want to be successful in this kind of industries, need to born global, so need to be internationalized since the beginning. One second very important explanation is the specific personal characteristics of the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur plays a very relevant role in making the company global since the beginning, and it's because that kind of entrepreneur has an international attitude. Probably he or she has a lot of international relations. He or she is a part of international network, and so the kind of entrepreneur is able to organize to develop the presence of the company in international networks. Now we can discuss foreign market entry strategies. Foreign market entry strategy determines which activities are fulfilled in foreign countries, in which countries foreign activities are localized, and which foreign partner to cooperate with in order to fulfill foreign activities. So activities that the company can fulfill abroad, where to locate activities to be fulfilled abroad, in which specific countries, in which specific geographic area, and possible partnership with the foreign companies, or also not only companies, with the foreign actors in order to develop the international presence. Of course, there are internal and also external factors that affect the choice of entry mode. As usual, we can say for the choice, any kind of strategic choice taken by a company is firstly determined by internal factors, by the specific characteristics of the company, but at the same time it is important to consider, to understand external forces, constraints or opportunities, because these forces can affect internal conditions, and so determine certain kind determine through internal conditions, so determine indirectly the strategic choice. And this conceptual approach is true also for the choice of entry mode in international markets. We can underline some of these internal factors and some of external ones. Internal factors, first of all, the objective of the internationalization strategy. Why the company wants to become international, why the company wants to develop activities in different countries. The experience, the international experience and the business experience, synergies with strategies in other markets, the available resources, and entrepreneurs' role and the entrepreneurs' attitude. this is the role of entrepreneur is particularly relevant for understanding internationalization process of small and medium-sized companies. External factors, first of all, the characteristics of the markets, and the foreign market characteristics of products and services, because we have more and more products that are global, that are requested by a global market. Main competitors' behavior, distribution system in foreign markets, and law and regulations in foreign markets. So the first mode to enter foreign market is exporting. Exporting means basically selling products or services produced in the domestic market, selling these products in foreign markets. Exporting is the simplest and least risky way for a company to be international, and so with the exception of born global companies, exporting is usually the first step in the internationalization process. Exporting can be done directly when the company develops its own relationships with the foreign customers, and so the company develops its selling structure in order to enter foreign markets, or it can be done indirectly when the company operates in the foreign markets through international intermediaries. The use of intermediaries is necessary when the exporting company has not resources enough or experience enough to face foreign markets. So usually small companies at the beginning of its international process tend to prefer indirect forms of exporting, because of course in this way they solve the problem of finding appropriate market channels and identifying foreign customers, develop relations, commercial relations with foreign customers. All these activities are usually done by the intermediaries, which help the company to export. These actors can provide knowledge, first of all, knowledge about the specificities of foreign markets, the characteristics of foreign consumers, the identity, in some case, of foreign consumers, knowledge about competitive conditions, on the characteristics of distribution systems, and also knowledge about the rules and uses of business. Also, they can make business contacts on behalf of the company with local potential clients, and they also can evaluate creditworthiness of local customers, and again help the exporting company to focus its offer to good clients. They can provide assistance in the field of distribution and logistics, and this is also a very important point, because in exporting one of the main determinant of the increase of cost is exactly distribution and logistics. So getting the help of someone to reduce these kind of costs can be very important. Also handle official documentation and provide assistance in administrative and financial matters. There are several types of intermediaries which have different roles and also which are widespread in different geographic areas. Some of them at least. Export management companies are firms that provide basically business services for exporting companies, and they can act either as international agent or as international distributors. Usually export management companies operate in focused geographic areas, so they have we could call it geographic specialization, and of course they receive a commission based on the volume of sales. Export trading companies are a kind of major intermediaries operating on a large scale, not only in geographical terms, but also in the scope of their operations. Export trading companies are very common in Japanese industrial model. They are called Sogogosha, but also countries like Korea, Brazil, Turkey have created trading companies within their export promotion policies, so in order to support domestic companies in the countries to become international. And we have buyers. Direct exporting represents a deeper commitment and possibly higher risks than the use of intermediaries, because the company organizes by itself international selling. So of course the company has to face higher risks and also higher costs. On the other hand, direct exporting allows faster learning about how to do business abroad, faster learning of foreign actors and opportunities to develop alliances or to organize also production in a most effective way. To export directly, the company has to develop its own foreign commercial network, to open foreign offices, and to start commercial foreign subsidiary. One other mode of entry is international licensing. Licensing kind of very much widespread contract, which is also quite often used in international business. Under a licensing agreement, the company, called the licensor, allows a foreign firm, called the licensee, to use its know-how and other intellectual property assets, for example, also trademarks, patents, and so on, for the manufacturing and sales of the company's product. In exchange, the licensee has to pay a royalty, and the royalty is usually established as a percentage of the sales that the licensee realizes of the licensed products in a certain geographic area. The licensing agreement sets out the rights and obligation of both parties. For example, the scope of the license, the technical assistance to be provided by the licensor to the licensee, when of course the licensee requires this kind of technical assistance, the level of royalties and how they are calculated, the duration of the contract, and also the countries where the licensee is allowed to exploit the content of the licensing agreement, and so the countries where the licensee is allowed to sell the licensed products or technologies. There are some advantages, a positive side of licensing. No need of significant investment abroad. This is an advantage for the licensor, and the licensee takes most of the investment risk. So all the risks and problems to develop a certain kind of market, foreign market, is taken by the licensee, not by the licensor. Also, licensing allows for some control of field operations, and we have quick development of the licensed technology abroad. This is very important for technologies that are in the first phases of their life cycle, when it is particularly relevant to make when there is a strong competition about different kind of technologies. And so it is very relevant to make a certain technology more widespread than the others and very quickly. So in order to have this quick development, it is convenient to license that technology to a lot of licensees in different countries or in different regions in the world. There are also some shortcomings of licensing which have to be taken into account when companies decide or are evaluating the opportunity to have a licensing agreement. First of all, the expected income from licensing depends on licensee, on its capability to exploit technologies or trademark or whatever that have been licensed, and to organize the business properly in its geographic market. Licensee can become a potential competitor. This is typical in technology licensing, because the licensee get a kind of technology and can learn by using the technology provided by the licensor, and also by benefiting of the technical assistance provided by the licensor. The licensee can improve its level of knowledge, of technological knowledge, and after a certain period of time become a competitor. And so also there are some risks of losing proprietary knowledge. Licensing is very important also from the point of view of local governments. Local governments have usually a positive attitude toward licensing as a mode of entry of foreign companies. And they have this positive attitude because licensing develops the cooperation between foreign companies and local ones. So local companies usually benefit from the help, the connection with the foreign companies, usually established in advanced countries, so foreign companies that have strong technological or managerial competencies. And so from the point of view also of the local governments, this is licensing helps local companies in their process of development. So just to sum up very quickly, different entry modes, exporting, and two basic ways to export: indirectly through the support of third parties, and we have different kind of third parties, or directly when the exporting company is able to organize its own organizational structure for foreign operations and distribution system. And also licensing, which is a very widespread way of entering in developing countries, which is also very well considered by local government. Thank you very much for your attention.